early Avicii. The first show we ever did with him, fully sold out. 5,000 kids, kind of circling back to things that could have ended my career. There were so many people at this venue, and they had these huge, like 15-foot doors. And I see the doors like start to cave in. It looked like it was gonna be a stampede. If they break through these doors and someone gets trapped under, like this is over. So I ran to the front, let everybody the fuck in. Don't scan anybody. Let everybody in. I was like, just let them all in, don't take the tickets. So everybody gets in, and you know, we're waiting. I'll never forget this call. Tim, we got a little bit of a problem. What's that? So Tim Bergling, Tim is stuck on the tarmac in DC and is not gonna make the show. By the way, we like prevented a riot from happening earlier. Like in my head, I'm going, if I have to go on stage and tell these people that Avicii's not coming, I'm dead.
All right.
It's the slow reveal.
We're rolling. We'll do the slow reveal. So Cheat Codes Podcast. We're here in Miami. We have a special guest, Tim Bonito. Welcome to the podcast.
What's up, boys?
Good to see you.
Legend.
This is kind of like a reunion because like we're boys at this point. I mean, we've been doing shows with you for years. We actually brought you on stage one time. I don't know if you remember.
I don't really remember.
You don't remember?
There's a video though.
Okay, there
we
you
have
go.
proof.
Yes.
We have video
Yes.
proof that you did it. Didn't you spray champagne on a bunch of your patrons? Or?
No, it didn't spray.
Oh,
remember
okay.
I was the worst spray of champagne in the history of our club.
Hey, I will say, I've brought my dad on stage a couple times, and he couldn't figure it out either. So it does take practice. People just see the videos like, oh, it's so easy. You just pop it and just.
Are you saying I'm like your dad? Is that what
I love my dad. I love my
His
dad.
dad's awesome.
Wait a minute. It's
I have
like
a
my
great
dad
dad.
can't do it, but you know, like
I'm just
like
saying,
I'm not in nightlife. Like he
I'm
literally
sure the
just
first time
compared
we
me
did
to
it-
his dad.
Have you gotten better?
My dad's a
at it,
teacher. He's not. Yeah.
I'm sure you're-
His
I'm sure
dad- that's very respectable, but you're basically saying I'm like your dad, a teacher who has
doesn't
no
drink.
idea how to handle alcohol at all.
He doesn't drink at all.
I'm
yeah.
sure you're a pro now, though.
Somewhat.
There you go.
I don't know what happened that night. It was just a
bad
It was a
night.
fluke.
malfunction.
Just a fluke.
There was
It's a
a
bad game.
bad game. I think you had picked me up that night.
Was that the night?
I think it was the same night.
Okay,
yes.
yeah, might have been.
Kevy is the only human in the entire industry that can lift me up.
Damn, Kev.
Yes.
He's been
strong boy.
trained. He's been
Strong
training. Yeah. That's good. You know what? He also picked up this guy named Lee Bryce that we did a song with. What's the deal with you picking people up?
I think Lee Bryce picked me up.
Oh,
Lee
that
Bryce
guy
Which was
does-
crazy because no one's ever picked me up. I'm big boy, you know?
Didn't Lee Bryce put you on his shoulders?
Yeah, he did.
And
And
you're
he from like
6'4".
squat right up to top.
On his
Yeah,
shoulders.
like I'm 230, 235.
And you were just on his shoulders. You guys
I didn't
collectively
realize,
were like
I didn't
10
realize
feet.
that. You didn't put me on your shoulders.
No, I didn't do that.
But you picked me. You physically.
I got you up, yeah.
Yeah. You said. I'll never forget this. You're like, you have to go and spray champagne. I'm like, no, dude, I'm not, because I'm not like a front. I don't. You guys know me.
Respectable.
I'm not like a front guy out there. Like, let me spray champagne on people, and I'm just not that guy. And Kevy's like, if I pick you up, you're gonna do that. So you can't. I was like, you can't pick me up. He lifted me up like 3 feet in the air. I was probably, by the way, 40, 50 pounds heavier than I am now.
Wow.
You
You're
know?
looking good, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But it just shows the strength of Kevy. Kevy had just this,
I wanted it. I wanted you up there on that
Oh,
stage.
you want-
He's
you
spraying
want-
I was
shit,
hungry
yes.
for it, dude. I wanted to see Tim fucking just spray the bottle.
So
I was actually surprised that you said that was the first time because you do this for a living. You're part of Big Night Entertainment for those that are just getting to know you. So it's like you've got to see like crazy stuff. You've probably seen way crazier stuff than that.
way.
But they never involve you. It's like, what are they doing?
There's lots of stories we can get into.
Yeah.
Usually not involving me. I'm usually not the front.
You're like the orchestrator.
yeah,
not-
the front. Like I don't have pillows of myself.
Oh, by the way, this is
Like,
new
you know.
on the pod.
I'm not. Oh, can you see that? Oh,
there we
yeah.
go.
Yeah,
Look at
see,
that.
see. I don't have a pillow of myself like you guys.
We got to
So,
start bringing this to every pod. Yeah.
Some people,
which
some
I'm
people call
straddling.
it narcissism, but
I'm currently straddling you guys. I don't know if you know that right now, but
well, here's the thing.
That's how close
Yes.
our bond is.
Oh yeah, there. it
You
is.
probably have a
Yeah.
family. You know, the tour life can get lonely. Like, my girlfriend's not here with me. You know, sometimes you need a pillow of your boys to get you through the night.
You gonna bring it to your wife? Are
Me?
you?
Oh, you want me to? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well, we want to bring it for the podcast. They get
Okay.
the EDMAs gave us this pillow yesterday.
Oh, okay. I thought
You thought
maybe-
we thought we made it
I
ourselves.
thought it was a prop for the
Miami podcast.
You come and do the podcast. You gotta you get a pillow of the guys.
Matt can't
Like,
leave home without it. He just everywhere he goes. On the
That's-
airplane, he just.
I'm actually really looking at it. It's pretty well done. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie.
I mean, I'll see you- I'll see you
They even
later,
cut
babe.
out like where your
Yeah.
heads are.
Yeah,
you know?
they brought it on stage. I was like,
Babe,
whoa,
did you
uh,
pack my pillow? I'm gonna miss you. I get out
amazing.
the door.
All right,
Exactly.
Let me stop straddling you guys.
Goodbye, pillow.
Sorry.
No, it's good,
That was
man.
fun for a minute though.
It was. Yeah.
So sorry, we can get into some stories for sure. I was just making like
Oh, you're good.
the fact that I'm not normally a front man. I don't have my face on pillows. I'm not really out there. A little more of a behind the scenes guy, but every once in a while I get in front of the scenes. But what do you want to hear? Crazy stories? Do you want to hear?
Tell us like the crazyest thing that you've seen in like a VIP.
Well, that I clearly can't talk about that. I mean, Kevy's trying to get me in trouble here.
Yeah, he's got
Listen,
clients.
the day that I like retire and
we can have that
not in
conversation.
this industry ever again, maybe I could tell some of those stories. I can't quite get into like full blown stories specifically on the industry. But are you just saying like the craziest thing I've ever seen at VIP?
Yeah, like if someone do something or like I don't know, break a bottle or some.
It is a different world back there. We've been in some rooms
Like,
where you're
you
like,
know,
oh,
like-
this exists. This isn't just like a movie thing. Like people living like this. People really buy like thousands of dollars of champagne just to spray. Especially the pool parties that'll like go to war. They'll be like, oh, that table.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Just-
big sides.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
I can tell you without getting myself in trouble, I can tell you the heaviest rider and,
yeah,
and what
okay.
what that's
please.
involved. And it's old school. It's
Oh, I
old
like
school.
that, okay.
All right, let's hear it.
It's
Like
it's
Skittles.
it's the legend of the industry himself, Mr. Tiesto.
okay.
So his college tour in 2011, in addition to what they brought on tour, which was a full Jaeger machine, like this is back when Jaeger. Actually, don't you guys still drink Jaeger?
I'm not a big Jaeger guy
It's been a minute, but I wouldn't like turn it down right now.
I wouldn't turn it down. I wouldn't turn it down right now.
right now.
Full Jaeger machine, and I would say, in 2011, probably $2,000 of retail, not like club markup alcohol, like between the wine, the champagne, lots of bottles. And I mean, listen, he came out on listen, I will say this about Tice. He is an absolute pioneer, one of the best people in this business. And I think before anybody else really saw what was happening in the dance music space, Tice saw it clearly before anybody else and said, listen, college kids are getting into dance music right now. I need to sort of reinvent myself and get myself in front of colleges. And he did it right. I'll never forget this when we cut the deals to do these Tiesto shows. We did them in the Northeast and college towns like UMass, Penn State, and Albany and UNH, like weird places they would never play now. And I'll never forget this. And this Paul Morris, credit to Paul Morris. The production buyout was more than Tice's fee.
Right.
And Paul was like, we want to show these kids a fucking Tiesto show. Like,
Wow.
that's what it's about. We want to show these kids a Tiesto show. And, he brought Porter Robinson and Hardwell and, Tommy Trash. He brought like a lot of up and coming artists. He's always been one of those guys that has brought people along with him and sort of recognized what was next. And that college tour, I'll never forget, like set him up, I believe, in this space to just be so much bigger. Because it was like Dayglow days when, Dayglow was massive. But from an artist perspective, people weren't really coming out to see artists in arenas, DJs in arenas. But he was the first. And, kudos to Tice for understanding that, like, the college market was the key to, like, the dance music scene exploding beyond, what it was from an underground perspective. So, but
Wow.
the rider was very expensive.
Yeah. it's such
A little bit of alcohol, we'll say. Just the
It's like a European thing where they'll put like wine on their rider and then just bring it home and then they'll just like collect it. Because I know in some of these European countries they can't buy wine like that for some reason. So it's like it's kind of smart if you think about it. Because if I put a bottle of like Tito's or what's like a more fancy vodka, it's not going to appreciate in value.
Yeah.
Oh, what he had was Stoli Elite.
That's vodka, right?
Yes, it was
Yeah.
a vodka, but it was like the high end. Before there was like
Tito's and
like
Greg's.
everything. Greg was like Stoli Elite, and it was in this crazy bottle. We had to like drive 40 minutes to even find it in these like podunk towns. Like Stoli, I walk into like a package store in New Hampshire and say, "Hey, do you guys have Stoli Elite?" And they look at me like I'm an absolute idiot. But we had to find it, you know. Tice wanted it. By the way, nothing got spared. Nothing got taken home.
Okay.
I can tell you that. It was
So
all.
there's a different strategy. I'm good friends with Christian of Galantis, and he had his tour team make a special hard Pelican case where you could put like 3 or 4 bottles of wine or champagne, and he will drink like a glass of wine when he performs. But
I think the idea is to like give it to his children.
yeah, he wants to like
Oh,
create a
wow.
wine
Yeah.
Really
collection.
good idea.
Yeah, it's really cool. Smart.
Kevin may try. He was like, "That's a good idea."
Just start doing that.
He built a Pelican case for it.
Yeah, his
Yep.
team
So
did.
you can travel.
Yeah.
So shout out Christian,
That's
because I thought
next
that was
level.
like the smartest idea. Because like I said, vodka or like whatever tequila doesn't appreciate. Like it's not gonna be worth double in 40 years.
Yeah,
But
yeah, exactly.
A good wine or champagne. I mean, yeah.
Does wine or champagne? Maybe I'm dumb for asking this, but does wine or champagne like ever go bad?
I mean, there's definitely some from like what the 80s or 70s, right? Isn't there? Like, am I tripping?
Well, wine is supposed to get better with age, but I don't know about champagne.
But is it like
Champagne doesn't feel like it ages well.
yeah?
Right.
And is it white wine that gets better or red wine?
I think
Or-
red,
Usually red, but
but maybe white too.
I'm not a connoisseur here.
No, I don't. None of us are. I don't know why we're talking about wine.
Okay,
and all this.
ask Tice.
Kevin,
Ask Galantis.
this is
Cali
Kevin's
guy.
like cue to bring up something that was interesting that none of us know anything about. Like, can I ask this question? Wine, red wine, like none of us even drink wine, Kevin. Thanks, though. Yeah, appreciate it.
It's a weird like club drink, you know. Oh, I got my glass of Pinot here, and
I could
like
never
Yeah, on
drink it
stage.
DJ, on stage.
Just falling asleep.
Yeah, I do want to ask you about like how you got into this business because it seems pretty wild. And you're kind of a laid back guy. Like I almost wouldn't peg you as like the typical nightclub promoter who's like hustling or like partying all the time. That doesn't seem like you.
No,
You're like a
no.
businessman that
yes,
kind of.
Yes. I always put the business first. So first and foremost, you know, music has been a fabric of my life, my entire life. I've played the drums my entire life. I was in bands. You ever hear of the band Stained? You know the band Stained?
I don't know. Sounds familiar.
Massive band from my hometown of Springfield. We played with them. So I played drums, and then I started DJing when I was in college.
Okay.
And, you know, I did it in a way that the business was, like, I was a good DJ, but the business was first. Like, I marketed myself, and I did fraternity and sorority things and just sort of talked my way from a business perspective into that. You know, fast forward, I ended up in corporate America for probably 7-8 years in mortgages and insurance and all these different things, and sort of left music behind for a bit. Still DJ'd and moonlighted.
Insurance you got to sell.
No, I wasn't insurance.
Oh, okay.
I was on the corporate side.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't on the sales side, but in mortgages I was on the sales side, which that's a whole.
It's a whole other skill,
That's a whole
man.
nother story. I made
Beast.
more money in 1 month when I was in the mortgage business than I think the 3 years after everything fell apart. I went through 2008, 2009, the entire crash,
The bubble burst.
the entire bubble, and I had a good friend that basically showed me his pay stub for 1 month, and it was what I was making in a year.
Oh wow.
When I was making pretty good money at a corporate, and he's like, dude, you have to do this. And so I ended up going training, and I went down to Long Island where like the loan amounts were up to $1 million. So you get basically paid a commission. I don't know why we're talking about this now, but we'll get into it.
No, I think it's interesting, yeah.
It goes into where why I ended up in the music business, quite honestly. It took me about 5 months to get ramped up. And again, I kind of looked at it in a way where, hey, I can do one loan for $150,000 and get paid X amount, or I can go spend all this time in Long Island and there's $1 million loan amounts. So I went down there. I would just stay down in Long Island, and within 4 months, this is kind of crazy, but I was making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a month.
Wow.
Like ridiculous money. And this is
And you weren't like a real estate agent. You were
no,
doing
no,
like
no.
the
It
loan
was,
side.
It was on the wholesale side. So I would go
Okay,
down
got
to brokers. It turns out all those loans were complete bullshit. You know, it's
Right,
like
right.
like it's basically like, hey, I'm a janitor. I make $120,000 a year. Can I buy this $1 million house? Sure, here you go. Like, my credit sucks. Do you want it? Sure. Here. Like
Take
it got completely out of hand. And you know, I was a little naive to it because I was new to the business, but I kind of knew that eventually, like Like you
like, this is not sustainable.
no, you didn't even have to prove your
Right.
income. No, there was a thing called a stated loan where you'd say, I make X amount, and you put it on there, and they would just call to verify you have a job, and then they would just give you a house.
No
Wow.
It was
Wow.
insane. Like
No proof.
so the company I work with had this product that was like one of the top products because you could have a very low credit score and just say that you made this amount of money and get a $500,000 house. But it all fell apart, right? So it fast forward to, it all falling apart. I ended up with 3 bankrupt companies because it started to fall apart really quickly. We got picked up by Lehman Brothers. So my original company that I worked with then got picked up by Lehman Brothers, which was 100 years old or somewhere in that
Like,
range.
this is safe. There's no way there's
Safe.
anything
I'm
happening
like,
to Lehman Brothers.
Lehman Brothers. It was the only bank that failed. They let Lehman Brothers
Right.
fail.
That was like the big 2008.
And they realized that the entire global economy was going to end.
Yep.
Like when I say that, we were one more bank from the entire global economy just ending because we were just giving away loans to people that, were not real at all. So I went through these 3 bankrupt companies, and I started to fall back in love with DJing and the music side because I just didn't have time. I was working 80 hours a week, making money. And I started to just do my own parties. And I had a friend back home who was the guy that was out, right? Like I'm not the guy that was, I was out. I'm a social guy, but he was out 6 nights a week. And we formed a company called NV Concepts in 2008, 2009, where we would just go and, take over different clubs. And then we started to book acts. So the first concert we ever did, I'll never forget this. Sam Adams, Boston's boy.
Oh, we
yeah,
know
love
Sammy Adams.
Sammy Adams, right?
Sammy Adams, Boston.
That was
The irony of it is he's Boston's boy. So a friend of ours showed us a video. He did a festival in New Jersey, and I was just blown away. You got to remember, this is 2010 when it doesn't seem that long ago,
I feel
but
like
it was.
that era, he even had a song on the radio. I'm pretty sure.
He was just blowing up, but it was Facebook, and the age of social media is not what it is now. And I saw a video, and I just saw like 10,000 girls screaming. I didn't even know who he was. 10,000 girls screaming. So we took a shot. We rented a venue. I maxed out a credit card. By the way, at that point I was broke because I had gone through like 3 bankrupt companies, and like I was making all that money. Like I saved some.
You gotta save from that good month.
No,
just in case.
yes. But you also thought that it was never going to end. That was
spending like it.
Yeah. It was
That's
one of those
true,
things.
yeah.
You're with the boys. It's kind of like a boiler room thing. Like everybody's going out. You're spending some money, but literally, it ended, and I didn't have a lot of money at that time. I borrowed against my credit card. We paid Sammy Adams, which was probably a lot for him, $5,000 to do the show, and we sold this show out in Springfield, Massachusetts, in 2010. And I realized there was something that the realization that you could book an artist and get people to travel from, not even
Right.
just from that city, from all over, and come and see somebody. And I was like, wow, this could be an actual business. So very slowly, it was slowly, and then it ended up being very fast. The next show that we booked, and actually, I don't think I've ever told this story publicly. So you guys get exclusive.
Yes,
Bring the pillow. Get the pillow warrior for this
Here we
story.
go.
Get the pillow warrior for this story. This is exclusive for the boys. This is exclusive.
love it.
The next show I booked, because we made actually a fair amount of money on that show. Next show we booked was Kid Cudi.
Oh,
wow.
Oh wow!
Was
right?
this, you said like 2010 or was this before that?
2010? Right?
Okay, so he was on the radio yet? Or
yeah,
no?
he was.
Day and
he
night.
was- yeah, Day and Night was
Okay.
out. He was big, but I was going through like a middleman agent,
Okay.
right? Who would hit me up, said, "Hey, I saw your show. I can get you Kid Cudi. Like, it's gonna be great." Well, it turned out it was a fake booking.
No.
Oh no.
$50,000.
No way. Oh. To just somebody.
So I
Like, put the money in the bag, drive to this empty parking lot.
Kid Cudi
So-
will show up.
2 weeks before the show, I figured it all out. Like that he wasn't coming. We kept wanting to advance the show, which by the way, I didn't at that point I didn't know what an advance was. Like it was like I was learning as I was going.
Like a half up front or full?
Oh, it was
Full,
in. Yeah, it was in. The crazy part about this was he found out it was sold. We sold the show out in like 3 days.
That's insane.
Sold out, right?
He's like, I gotta go. I gotta go,
Like,
man.
completely sold out. He found out, and his agency found out that we had a show, and that's how I knew, because they hit me up and they're like, you know this show isn't booked. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, it's booked. We're sold out. He ended up doing the show.
No way.
I had to pay a little more, right?
Right,
Like
kidding.
I had to pay a little more, and we ended up losing a little bit of money. But he came, he did the show, sold it out, was incredible, like incredible performance. But literally that could have been the end of my career.
Wow.
Within like, if he hadn't done that show, we would have been out 50 grand, and I'm done. Like,
Right.
like I'm not sitting here with a pillow of you guys. No, I'm dead serious.
Yeah,
It was
for
one
real.
of-
Does he know that now that you basically?
Oh, he didn't acknowledge us at all. Like he came in like we were nobody. Like it was. I think he just did it because he knew there was a sold out show. Like his team was like.
But I'm wondering now if he's like, wow, I actually made that guy's career. That Boston guy, I made his career.
I don't think he does, but there are some artists that have acknowledged that. He probably has no recollection of that at all. But I learned a very hard lesson, and I booked through a middle agent, right? Before I was doing what I do now, like, we do 400 bookings a year. I'm very close with a lot of agents and managers and artists, but when you're starting out, you go through who you think you're going to be able to book somebody from. And
Right.
quite honestly, when you're starting out, agents don't listen to you. Like they're not like, oh, you're just some random.
They don't wanna take a
promoter.
risk.
Yeah, they're not going to take a risk on you. So if he hadn't done that show, we wouldn't have been in existence. So we did that show. And then the two things that happened after that were really monumental in, my career and our career. My partner, Rich, shout out Rich Hutchinson. He was the guy that was out all the time. We were doing these parties. The other two things that were very monumental. First off, we ended up booking Wiz Khalifa. Before he was doing like 500 cap rooms, selling them out. Like Black and Yellow had just sort of come out, and we did UMass, and we sold out UMass. I'll never forget Wiz coming in and just like looking at the stage and was like flying around the stage. It was like just blown away by the fact that he was about to play this incredible stage,
Wow.
this huge, like crazy, like absolutely nuts. And at that show, we had a rapper, his name was Mickey Fax. That was one of the opening acts. And he was represented by Calendar Edward, who's at AM Only, who's now, part of Wasserman. I don't know if you guys know Calendar, but so Calendar goes back, comes to the show with Mickey Fax, and was like, these guys have something going on. We sold 6,500 tickets for Wiz Khalifa, was doing 500 tickets, goes back to the agency, goes back to Paul Morris and Lee Anderson and the guys there, and we're like, this is the guy that understands the college market. We need to figure out, like, this is right when they were figuring out the Tiesto thing. Whoa. So the timing was like unbelievable in that Wiz Khalifa show that sort of propelled my career. Now, the next thing that happened was another massive potential setback. And it's interesting, and I know I'm talking a lot here.
You
but
got to roll with
it's
the
like
punches, you know?
Yeah. You look at people and their success, and sometimes you don't necessarily realize, the times that it just could have completely ended and not come to fruition. The second thing that almost literally like put us out of business, I had this idea. There was this band called LMFAO,
Yes.
right?
Oh yeah, of course.
There was this DJ called Steve Aoki.
They did a song
Legend.
together, right?
I don't know if they ended.
Oh.
They might have ended up doing a song together. So my idea was to put LMFAO and Steve Aoki together and call it LMFAoki.
Bro, genius.
I love that.
Genius, right? Absolutely genius. We sold in a 6,000 capacity venue, which was very expensive. We sold 700 tickets.
Oh, shit.
It's a week before the show. Maybe 120 to $150,000 in the hole.
Oh, God, bro.
Like, brilliant idea, right?
Yeah.
So luckily, we were able to pivot. We were able, LMFAoki, again, very gracious, ended up foregoing their fee. We canceled the show. Steve came and played for less and did like a very small venue, sort of made our money back. And literally, this is, by the way, this is before Party Rock Anthem. Party Rock Anthem had just come out but hadn't hit. 3 months later, LMFAO is doing 8,000 to 10,000 tickets everywhere in the country. Party Rock Anthem is the biggest song in the entire world, right?
Right.
Literally in the entire world. We missed it by 3 months.
Damn,
And
dude.
clearly Steve ended up being Steve as well.
Right.
You know, he was big, but he wasn't what he is now. But again, another one of those situations where if I had lost another 100, like, we're done. That's the end of sort of, you know, what we're doing. So to answer, that was a very long answer to your question, but coming from mortgages, corporate America, and then sort of shifting back to my love for music. I've been a musician. My parents owned a music store my entire life. My dad played drums. I've always been involved in music in some way. And here's the thing, and I know you guys live this too. Once I shifted from corporate America and these things that were making me money, but didn't fulfill me in a way that felt like, you know, it was a job. Those things
Not your own.
Yeah, and listen, I made a lot of money, which was nice. But I did realize very early on that money isn't everything. And once the concert business started to take off, we went from that year 11 concerts, and we went from 11 concerts in 2011, I think, to 75 to 220 in 3 years across 20 different markets. We did shows in Hawaii, we did shows in California, we did shows as far as, you know, Niagara Falls. Like, we were everywhere, like going to underserved sort of situations. But, and this is the point that I try to talk to younger promoters about. I never felt like I actually worked a day in my life.
It was just like fun.
fun.
Yeah.
I loved what I did. As stressful.
And then you probably spend more time on it than someone who views it as a job.
Oh, I had
Yeah.
no time. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
You're all
no,
in,
No,
yeah.
no. When I tell you the amount of time and energy, like, you guys have done these large scale shows, you know how hard it is to sort of put the production together. Like, I was at that point in our career, I did everything from putting flyers on cars to fulfilling the riders to doing the production to doing the marketing to booking the talent to book. Like, we did everything soup to nuts. It's crazy now because I don't do any of it. You know, I
scaled it,
literally,
yeah.
literally don't. It's to the point where I don't even book you guys anymore. Like, I have people that, you know,
Right.
sometimes I do, but to think that we went from soup to nuts doing, you know, getting M&Ms on people's riders and, you know, making pillows out of, you know, people's.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, what's the strategy of like selling tickets or putting on a show where people actually show up? Because I think a lot of people and some promoters do this. They book the talent. They just put the name on a marquee, like put it online, and then hope people show up. But like, I know some people do like mailing lists, but you were tapped into like your Springfield markets. That's where you started. But how do you go from that to be like, all right, we're doing a show in Hawaii where like I don't really know anybody?
Well, you partner with people in those areas,
Right, okay.
for sure. But we expand. You know, our name and brand grew in the Northeast, and that was helpful. Those shows in particular, you know, we didn't do a lot on the West Coast, but those we had local partners. That was more so. We had a brand called Winter White Tour.
Right. It's like about the brand.
It
And
was
like,
the brand.
It's,
So
where, where you'll see like an Insomniac, even if it's a different event or it's like in a different spot, you kind of know what to expect as a fan, like buying a ticket.
correct. You
Yeah.
know, similar, like Dayglow was massive, right? And Dayglow would sell out shows without a lineup.
Oh, okay.
So what is Dayglow? Explain it, because this was
Dayglow is
early
life
2010s,
in, life
right?
in color.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
guys know what life in color
Is
is?
this where they sprayed the?
Oh,
the
you guys
powder?
don't. Wow, you guys
Yeah.
don't even know what
I think
this is.
I thought we did it
Oh.
once. I thought we did it once.
Is it a different thing then?
Dayglow turned into life in color. So it's the paint part.
It's the print. Okay, yeah. We did one of
I
those.
think we did one of them. Yeah, I think we were on the tail
You
end.
were on the tail end of when
Very
it
good.
was. I mean, it turned into a global phenomenon.
So
but,
who came up with that idea? 'Cause that's
they were
genius,
actually Miami based.
especially at the time.
Okay,
Okay.
sweet.
So somebody else had the idea, and you were like, "Oh, we want to promote this. We want to make it bigger."
No, I looked at that as a model
Got it.
to say, hey, can we replicate this in a way with a branded tour? Because it was crazy. Because I would have to put a lot of time and effort into marketing shows at these colleges, spend a lot of money, and, you know, even back then doing radio promo and doing all these things. I'll never forget this. They put up a 30-second video and sold out in 5 minutes.
Wow.
Wow. And that was before like Well, is this before
Like
a lot of
2000,
socials?
2011 or something?
2011. Yeah,
So
2011.
basically mainly Facebook and MySpace.
You're like,
It was-
wow,
it was,
the
it's
power
not,
of the internet.
Not really MySpace, but Facebook.
Yeah.
Like back then, there wasn't necessarily filters where like you could actually use Facebook marketing.
Right.
Right.
You know, where
Yeah.
like you could hit, you
Real
could
people.
advertise. Yeah, you could actually, there was an ROI to Facebook marketing. So I looked at that and said, wow, if we had a brand that was not necessarily built around talent, which we integrated talent into, it could be a home run. We took a lot of shots at it. We had this Winter White Tour, which we did successfully in a lot of markets.
We like foam or like, what was the?
It was just a white themed. We had snow machines.
Okay,
and
got it.
Yetis running around.
great.
and,
People love the themes.
like, crazy. And we did those shows. We ended up, Avicii did a few of those. We've Dot of Life did a ton. Hardwell did a ton. Bingo Players, like all early, early like EDM, golden age sort of acts did those shows.
Right.
And they ended up doing really well. And everybody wore white. Like it was, it's just like, I know that's canceled now. Like you can't, no one can't even do a white party
P.
anymore.
Diddy,
but-
P. Diddy
Yes.
ruined it.
Yeah.
But you guys are all wearing white right now. Like,
Yeah.
that's
White and
how
black.
This
you
is
planned that.
This is weird for me, by the way. I don't wear white. I don't know. This was not. Why are we all wearing white?
I was
know.
texting you earlier. I said, please wear white.
Yeah, we got a match today, Tim. We got a match.
I knew you guys. I knew you guys used to go to those parties. I could just sense
my
it.
God.
There's something about you guys.
I got a voice note from Kevy. Please wear white.
Yeah.
Please wear white, Tim. We're all gonna match today.
Yeah.
Except Matt. He's not gonna match us.
Not
Sorry,
missed the
guys.
text. You missed it.
Yeah.
Speaking of white, see, you're
There he
there you
is.
go.
Got the
white right
Yeah,
there.
white. Yeah, there it is. So yeah, there were a lot of times sort of throughout my career that were turning points, and it could have went one way or another. And some of it was luck, and some of it was hard work, but you just never know until you're pushed to the brink of a point where like literally you could be financially bankrupt and like never be able to do this again. The level of motivation that ends up getting pushed once you get pushed to that level is kind of insane.
It's kind of weird with the business thing because when you first start, you have almost essentially nothing to lose, so you're willing to take these huge risks, and then once you reach a certain amount of success, you kind of have to sit back and be like, all right, that one's too big of a risk. Like you have to be more calculated with it. Now you have a company, you have employees, you have a family or bills or whatever, and it's like I can't be just
More on the line.
Yeah, more on the line. Like when does that shift?
Man, that's tough as well. Shout out to my wife who has been an amazing support system for me. She was a nurse. My wife.
Shout out nurses.
Yeah, shout out nurses. Full time, worked overnights, made good money, and through those early years, like she had the steady income. Because quite honestly, there'd be days that shows that we would make some money, and other times we would lose $20,000.
Right.
And there was no one backing me. There was no one. It wasn't. We weren't. It's not like now. A lot of the promoters are sort of like backed by certain people, and it was all of our own money. But she was my support system, and from a family perspective, I didn't have kids at that point, but from a family perspective, she had the steady income, worked overnights, and kind of got through to the point where at some point you reach a tipping point where it now becomes a steady career. There was one. I do want to mention one more time during my career, which I thought it was over as well.
Yeah, please.
This was 2013, and we did 2 Zed shows at the House of Blues. Kind of early Zed, but was definitely big. Was starting to blow up, and it was
Is it in Boston?
in
or-
Boston.
Okay.
But it was also Electric Zoo weekend in New York. We did a show on Thursday night going into Electric Zoo weekend with Zed, and a 18 or 19-year-old girl ended up dying at the show, overdosing
At the House of Blues.
at the House of Blues.
Wow.
Overdosing. It was like one of the craziest things that, to get that news that at one of your shows, somebody.
Yeah,
like,
one big lawsuit can ruin entire festivals. Like look at Tomorrow World in Georgia, or wherever.
But even outside of that, a life was lost at
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
that you put together, and it sort of hit me in a very strange way. I didn't have a lot of time to react because that weekend, 4 more people died at Electric Zoo
Oh my God.
in New York, right? And they were all sort of local to the Northeast. One was from like Rochester, New York. One was from the like Massachusetts, Rhode Island. because a lot of the New England people would go to Electric Zoo. There was clearly a very bad batch of drugs that was out there that somebody had cut up. And, you know, these kids back then, that's what they did. They would just, you know, go and roll their faces off and go to these things. And that was the popular thing to do. So that weekend, I'll never forget this because I had Pretty Lights. I think I had a Tiesto show. I had Above and Beyond. Our business was at a point where it was on like auto. Like I could do Afrojack on a Tuesday and sell 4,000 tickets. Like it was like, it was like that at the point where
Tuesday.
No. I think we did them on a Tuesday. Like it was because you couldn't go and see these guys like you could now, right? So we would bring them to these colleges. And I'll never forget this. The Monday after Electric Zoo, I got a call from the administration at UMass. And they were basically like, we're going to have to cancel all your shows. Oh. I was like, what do you mean? We're going to have to cancel all your shows. Like, you know, we're getting a lot of, you know, scrutiny from parents and like, we can't risk this. Like,
because now you're talking about college kids and college shows versus it's not like EDC where you're kind of taking more of a risk. Like, oh, I'm an adult. I chose to buy this ticket. It's like, hey, come on college campus. We have this show for you guys. And then.
Correct. Now imagine that happened at UMass and 4 students
like
died from a concert, right? So they're looking at it from a liability standpoint. For 4 months, every single one of my shows in the Northeast was canceled.
Oh my God.
Canceled. I call it Mollygate because I don't know why I'm laughing about it, but it's Mollygate because in the Northeast, and then I would call, you know, like I have a lot of promoter friends across the country, and I would call them and sort of explain.
Even if you were like, no, we're just gonna have tighter security, like even pitching solutions.
There was no solution at that point. Nobody wanted to take a risk.
Yeah, every parent is just like, no, you're not going to that show.
You're not going to it. Yeah. The liability isn't worth it. And I remember this. You know, we were getting sort of, you know, because we were like the premier dance music promotion company in the Northeast, and people are looking. They're like, you know, what's happening at these shows? There was just like a deeper dive, and you know, first of all, I've never done a drug in my life, right? So that for me. Like it's never been about that. It's been about, you know, the feeling that you get of being at a show, watching people, the community feel like everybody has their reasons for why they go to these shows. So, you know, for me, it wasn't like, hey, I want to throw these shows and have people do a bunch of drugs and hang out. And like, that was just
without the Molly. I mean, we can't do the shows. What's the point?
Here, just have it at the door. You know, it wasn't like, you know, need a pillow, need a Molly, whatever you need. It wasn't necessarily like that. So it took me a minute, but there was a second where I was like, are we done? Like, are we never going to be able to do another show again sort of in this area because of this? And it took a while. And by the way, it was good because we started like an education process, right? Like at our shows, we had, I can't remember the name. We had a team of 50, just like Insomniac does, of 10, 15 volunteers that would walk around.
People handing out water.
Handing out waters, hydrating people, checking on people, you know, clearly marking where if you see an issue. Like it actually ended up being a good thing, I think, for the community because at that point, people realize, hey, we need to look out for each other, right? Like if we want this beautiful thing that everyone experiences to continue, we have to look out for each other. And you know, we were a leader sort of in the Northeast on that, and eventually it started to come back. And you know, I could tell you this: our expenses quadrupled because we'd have to have 4 EMTs on site, and you know, 1,000 cops, and like you know, like
you have to get extra insurance and stuff.
Extra insurance, and you know, all these things. But that was another period where, you know, we were literally peaking from a business perspective, and you just never know when something's going to come out of nowhere and like potentially completely derail it. But
was the strategy like, okay, we'll just focus on the Midwest or like the West Coast and just
no, we
take a break?
We couldn't at that point. I think it was more so because our core markets were in the Northeast. It was how do we come back and do these and deliver the type of show that we want to in these markets?
Give the trust. You had to like build the trust, kind of.
Correct. But that was just another. You know, there's probably 3 or 4 periods in my career that I just thought, you know, when I had a fake booking and it cost me $50,000, like, One more. Sorry, I actually have one. This is actually a really good story.
Don't start a business, folks.
Yeah.
It's not worth
Oh.
it. Unless you're willing to be stressed, lose it a couple times.
If you're willing to lose it all.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like starting a business is for people that just hate getting told what to do by a boss. And like they want to set their own hours, and they want it so much that they're willing to just lose all their money a couple times.
Sure. I mean, listen, there was money to be made as well, clearly during that time. But when you have a situation that's out of your control, where people are dying at shows, or you book somebody fakely, like all these things that are like sort of out of your control. The other one that to this day I'll still never forget this. We did the only David Guetta college tour that he's ever done.
Wow.
So post Tiesto, David wanted to do a similar thing. And in that time period, he had songs with like Nicki Minaj, and like he was like
That was like the Titanium era, right? I would say like right after.
It was a little bit before Titanium,
Okay.
when he was doing a lot of songs with a hip hop artist, an R&B artist, and wanted like big hit radio
When
U.S.
love
records.
takes over.
Yeah, there you go, little Kelly Rowland.
Yeah.
Listen to that beautiful
Yeah,
voice.
gorgeous.
Thanks, guys.
Wow.
I sing sometimes.
Yeah.
I know. I've
sultry.
seen it actually. I've
Yeah.
seen him sing. Yes.
Got a
Yes.
voice.
I love Kelly.
Yeah, I love that. So we did the only David Guetta college tour, and it was the most expensive thing you could ever possibly imagine. And it was a little bit different than Tice, where we had to pay an X amount for him, and his production was the biggest thing we had clearly ever done. And we overspent on, I mean, you guys have dealt with production budgets, and we clearly overspent on it. And we did 4 dates in the Northeast, and they sold some tickets, but they didn't sell out. By the way, the lineups on these this will blow you away. The lineups on these were David Guetta, Alesso, Dot of Life, Rehab.
No way.
And then we did one show in Syracuse, and there was this little known DJ named Danconia that
Okay.
opened the show, local to Syracuse.
Wow.
Turned out to be Drew from the Chainsmokers.
You're kidding.
No way.
I think I saw you post something about this
Wow, that's
recently.
a crazy story.
You're
Yeah.
like, shout out Drew's DJ name before.
Danconia, yeah, because I found a flyer with the Danconia name on it, and he was on that show. We did a show in Syracuse with David. It was David Guetta, Alesso, Rehab, and Danconia. It was like one of his first shows, and his manager Sergio was also a good friend. Ended up working for us, and when he started to form Chainsmokers, we were big believers very early because of that relationship, because we had known sort of Sergio sort of at that time. But these shows were, the lineups were amazing, the production was amazing, but we lost an inordinate amount of money. I mean, when I tell you we lost, we took a hit. But here's the thing: the good thing was, we had some cash reserves because the business was good at that point. But it wiped pretty much everything out. But you know what? I paid it.
Yeah. There you go.
But is that one of those things?
I paid it, and it minted me in this business.
Right.
That's what I'm saying,
It
like-
minted me at a point where managers, agents, artists were like, this dude is no matter what happens and how much they lose, he's going to pay, right? And it was a respect thing at that point,
Right.
Because they took a big chance. David Guetta doing a college tour, which, by the way, the reason it didn't translate was because at that time, college kids didn't realize he was even a DJ, because they were just hearing these songs on the radio,
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I used
Like,
to think like that too. I used to think he was just like an artist or something, singing. or whatever.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were probably one of those guys. I'm not gonna go see David Guetta.
Yeah, I
This
did the
dude
same
just-
thing.
yeah.
Early on, I was like, I don't understand the idea of this.
I think
Calvin
in
Harris, David Guetta thing. I was
yeah,
like, huh? What, are
the
they
idea of
singing
like
or-
DJs that get other people to collab, I don't think Americans fully understood that until a little bit later.
No, he was brilliant, and it took a while for people to sort of catch on. But they would rather have paint splattered all over him by some local DJ and
Right.
pay $100 for that ticket than go see one of the biggest artists with the most ridiculous production you could ever possibly imagine. But we did that tour, and in this moment as well is another one of these moments that like really made it all worth it for me. Because no matter what we lost, I'll never forget this. The last day of the tour, David and I spent almost an hour talking, which was kind of insane because he's a global superstar, and we were talking about the U.S. and the markets and the reaction. He was, he was like, why didn't these sell out? He wanted to know like what, sort of what was going on. And basically I told him, it's weird, very weird for me to say, because I was also a DJ. Like, these kids don't even know you DJ, David. They don't even know you DJ. Like, I could put a local DJ up, and he's like, I never really realized that. Like, I need to get back to some records that, and kind of put out in the US that I'm an actual DJ. And I'll never forget this. It's one of those moments in my life that makes it all worth it. David looks at me after we talked for 45 minutes an hour, and he goes, Tim, you motivated me. Wow. David fucking
There you
Guetta.
go. You motivated
That's badass.
Guetta.
David fucking Guetta looks me in the eye and goes, Tim, you motivated me.
Badass.
Kind of nuts,
Yeah,
right?
I think- hey,
Like,
man.
super cool.
I think that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Like, we saw him like a couple years back, and we're like, David, we did a song together, and he's like, we did?
Yeah.
That was his reaction to us. So. I just take that as a compliment,
Oh, he'll probably not remember any of this, by the way. But,
Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember you, Tim. Who? Tim?
What? I did these
Tim
shows.
Bonito?
Yeah, I don't remember this at all. But yeah, that was another one of those moments. So.
Was there
Damn, bro.
was there a struggle from COVID? Because like for
Oh,
us,
that's
that
a
was
good
an 8-month gap of us not playing shows. So I can imagine as a promoter, what do? You're just sitting on your hands, like, and that was the Northeast. We were playing shows in like the South, like,
Well, where the Wild West, you mean?
yeah, we were playing shows in places that
Miami,
we've never played
Texas.
shows before.
You guys played a lot of shows during that time.
Yeah, we
Yes,
did.
yes, yeah.
Yep.
You and Diplo were like playing every weekend. Wes decided he wanted to play all of a sudden because he couldn't play, and he was like, "Oh, I'll just go play this taco spot. I don't care." He's like, trying to book Diplo pre-COVID, forget about it, and then COVID hits. I'll just go play. I'll go play every weekend.
But that was 8 months of us not playing any shows.
Here's the difference in the career arc. During the COVID time period, we had shifted from, being a promoter-based company where, we would rent out venues and do everything soup to nuts and risk all of our own money and do all these things for a lot of years. In 2018, I merged my company with Big Night. So my company, Heavy Concepts, merged with Big Night at that time. We were booking all the talent at all the venues for a long time. It just made sense with Randy and Ed and Scott and it made all the sense in the world. It also helped sort of take the risk a little bit out of my hands. And quite honestly, we're at a point where we weren't doing as many like hard ticket shows. We do a few, but at one point in 2013, 2014, we were doing like 250 hard ticket shows in all these other places. It was more like talent buying and things to that effect. That being said, it was a very scary time period because none of us knew if it was ever actually coming back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
I remember that feeling.
It's definitely gonna be in, Louisiana and Miami and some of these other, like Miami was never going anywhere.
Yeah.
Let's be-
Miami was open.
yeah, Miami never closed. Like
Yeah.
it was just always
Like,
open.
hit up Grutman. We need to get some shows going. What venues can we rent real quick?
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about that time period was, we're all very motivated, creative people, entrepreneurs that like don't really like to take time off. Like we enjoy time with our family, but to think that now we had no idea when we were going to open again, what we were going to do. So
It was too much time.
too
let's
much
be real.
time. And there was, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 of us that would literally come in the office every day, even though we didn't have a show to promote. We didn't have a venue open. There was not, and we would just sort of ideate, right? Like, so a lot of our restaurants, like of the Big Night restaurants, we would do ghost kitchens, right? Because there was delivery. So it was like, all right, we can do this bao bun delivery. We would take our venues and basically just do different delivery options and create them and just sort of build businesses. So during that time, and this is actually it's a great segue, boys. I'm actually a little upset because I was going to bring something we talked about and
Oh, man.
I forgot it.
Oh, you're fine.
I forgot it, but this is leading into.
You just mail it to us.
I can mail it to you. It wouldn't be as fun as where we're at. I'll never forget this. We're in a meeting and Randy, one of the principals of Big Night, one of our partners. I'm a big shoe guy, right?
Those are sick.
Yes.
I love those.
Are those rare, Kev?
They look rare.
Are they Air Maxes? Makes
Yeah,
you
I'm a
feel
big
like-
Air Max. I'm a big Air Max guy.
Nice.
Comfy.
Hell yeah. I love that.
I have Jordans. I have a lot of Jordans, but they're just the comfort level is
Yeah,
just
Jordans
not,
aren't that comfy
is,
to
the
me.
t- is it
Give
off
me
white or something?
blisters.
Is it like
These
a-
are not off-white ones. No,
Okay,
they're
the
just,
tongue looks like
just
Nike.
like I don't know. They're
sick.
Yeah. So, moral of the story is, Randy looked at me because I would just buy shoes all the time. He goes, well, you don't have to buy sneakers anymore because there's nobody was around. We weren't going anywhere. Like
Wearing
there's no
slippers.
like no seriously. I'd wear like slippers. It didn't matter what you wore because you didn't see anybody because nobody was around. I go, yeah, I'm not buying sneakers, but I got back into card collecting and baseball, basketball, football. It's been a lifelong thing since I was a kid, and through my early 20s, and I just put it all away. And I went back and like looked at my collection, and during the COVID time period, that business just exploded. So cards that I had bought,
Yeah, all the collectible stuff.
it was unbelievable. So I'm a big Celtics fan. I was a huge Jason Tatum fan, and I bought his rookie year. I bought probably 15 of his rookie cards in what was called a PSA 10, like a perfect condition. I maybe spent $200
Wow.
at that time.
It's a good grab.
His rookie year. Like it just wasn't
I'm from
big.
St. Louis, so shout out.
Shout out
Tatum.
JT for sure. And I remember looking, and I went on to eBay just to see what they were worth. They were worth like $5,000.
Oh shit,
Damn, bro.
And I'm like, what is going on? Like, because we have been buried. We just opened 3 new venues. Big Night Live was open for 3 months. We closed. We had just opened the Grand. We just opened Memoir a year before. Like, we were on the biggest roll of our lives as Big Night, and everything just came to a screaming halt. So I never had time to look at cards, and people still think it's silly. Some people are into it, but people are like, what, cardboard? Like, the line I get all the time when I tell people what we do, and I'll get to sort of the level we're at right now, and I'm like, yeah, we're in the sports card business. Or like, oh, like Porsches and Lamborghinis, and I'm like, no, cards, like cardboard pictures of men that we collect. They're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
Definitely a dude thing.
yeah, they're like, I thought you were like into Ferraris. No, not sports cars, sports cards,
Yeah.
right?
With a D.
So Randy looked at me and he's like, "You're not buying shoes." And then I'm not, but I said I'm getting online and I'm breaking. So there's a part of the business for which you could just go on at any time of the day, buy a box, buy a pack, buy a certain team, and they'll open it live. It's like unboxing, right?
Okay.
Like opening it live. And I was fascinated by it because there's a little bit of a gambling aspect to it too, right?
I've seen it with Pokemon.
Yes, yeah. You
Oh,
can
I pulled
buy-
the Charizard. I'm rich.
Yes.
Big thing on TikTok. For
Yes. So the gambling piece that has always been in me as a promoter, like you just have to be a gambler in this business. So it was fun for me because you'd go on and maybe you hit a big card and do all these things. And Randy looked at it and he goes, "You're not gonna believe this. Last week I was on the beach with a lifelong friend, Chris Costa, who's now our managing partner in the business, and he was telling me about the same thing. And he's like, I told him you should go start a business. And then he looked at the breaking. I showed him the breaking. He's like, and Randy's just a visionary, from a business perspective. Randy and Ed and Joe and the entire crew at Big Night are visionaries. And Randy goes, we should do this, right? Like we should do this.
Was it just based off the Jason Tatum appreciation? He was like, whoa, it could like 10x like in a couple of years? Or
Well,
what's the deal?
it was the card piece, but the breaking online piece, right? Because we were a marketing company. We were a entertainment company, right? A lot of these guys were just doing it out of their basement. Like you'd go on and be like some like, dude in his mom's basement, like opening cards. And it was just like, it wasn't professional, right?
Right.
And Randy's like, we could take this to an entire different level and bring a level of entertainment that no one else in the business could really do, right? So we started Big Night Breaks. That's how we started, right? And all of us would be in the office during COVID. None of our venues were open. No sign of opening, by the way. Never a sign of like, hey, we're going to, like, it was just, we're all stuck. And we go on Instagram and we would be there till 2, 3, 4 in the morning. All of us like in this office, opening and breaking cards and making money. Fast forward probably a year, like 6 months to 7 months after we started doing it, we were starting to open back up. And during the pandemic, I was going to like these dusty card shows, like in like
Nice.
Knights of Columbus, like these underground, like think about like in
Some real nerds there.
Yeah, oh yeah, well, nerds and like 65-year-old guys where you have to like swipe the dust off the cards. I would go to these as like, and just I just have fun and go and buy cards. And I'll never forget this. I said, the first time that Massachusetts is allowed to open, we should do a show at Big Night Live. It's like perfect venue to sort of do a show.
Like convention style?
Yeah, it's like vendors set up and sell cards and packs and things to that effect. So we did the first show to reopen Massachusetts in Big Night Live, which was a huge pain in the ass because there was like social distancing.
Right. Oh my God.
A chair 3 feet from this chair and stanchions.
Swabbing noses.
And you had to swab people on the way in. Like it was a kind of a difficult thing to do,
sure.
sort of at that time. And we also sort of had aspirations to start opening stores, right? And we opened up our first location at Foxborough, shout out the Crafts and the Patriots, and opened up our first location at Foxborough. We'd always wanted to open Boston first, but there was a slight delay in sort of how that all came together. Then we opened up another store at Foxwoods, which you guys know very well.
Yep.
You guys played Shrine a number of times. Yep. Our home base is where we already had infrastructure. We had places in Foxborough, places in Foxwoods, and places in Boston. And then a year and a half ago we opened up in Boston. Fast forward to where we are today. A month ago, we announced our partnership with the one and only GOAT, Mr. Tom Brady.
Oh, hell
Oh,
yeah.
sick, dude.
I saw that.
I was going to ask about that. Congrats, dude.
And so you asked about COVID. This all came from like a germ of an idea where
He's like, buy my rookie cards. I want a percentage of my memorabilia. Let's just
he's
collect.
in it. Tom's in it, by the way. This isn't like hey, I'm going to put my name on this. And he's into collecting. He's into the hobby. Just like me, he didn't have time clearly, when he was
Right.
a player and all these things, but he's in it. And it's absolutely surreal to think that if it wasn't for COVID and this complete shutdown, for which, again, we had no idea if we were ever going to come back, we wouldn't be sitting here and saying that Tom Brady is our partner in a business that we are going to turn into basically the lids of sports cards.
That's
We're
insane.
crazy, bro.
Congrats, bro.
Yeah, congrats, man.
The
That's
plan
so
is
sick.
100 stores,
Whoa.
50 in the next 5 years, and 100 stores potentially globally.
So what will the stores be? Explain.
They're retail stores. Just like think about if you're going to buy a hat at Lids, and think about before there were Lids, there were just separate hat shops that you would go to, right? So there wasn't a brand name associated to that store. So you come in, you could buy Pokemon, you could buy slabs of cards, you could buy singles, you could buy memorabilia. So all of our stores are designed, with a vault and some high-end cards, but there isn't an actual brand, retail brand that's across the country that sells these cards. And Tom was like, I'm in. This is brilliant. I'm going to put my name behind it. You're now Card Vault by Tom Brady. He acquired 50% of the company, and let's go.
Have you seen this
Fucking huge,
this
bro.
Pop Mart stuff?
Pop Mart.
Have you heard of Pop Mart?
No.
I'm just gonna say I think what you're doing is a great idea because there's this whole new wave. It started in Asia, but it's kind of like the new Beanie Baby, and it came over to America, and they're called Labubu. And
Labubu.
something like that.
Labubu.
It sounds like Kev actually called me before and called me Labubu earlier.
Labubu. Hey, what's up, my baby?
Labubu, how far are you from the podcast studio? When are you going to be here, Labubu?
We're white, Labubu.
But it's like huge on TikTok. Like people are waiting lines out of they're called Pop Marts, but it's like it's almost like Funko Pop.
Yeah.
You can buy these little figurines. There's different brands. There's Crybabies, but these girls, a lot of them are Asian, but there's American women too. And there'll be adult women, like 35-year-old women waiting in these long lines. And you have COVID, and I know you're big on NFTs.
Yes.
But we kind of have this wave of like, oh, everything's going to be digitized. Like this whole physical thing is going away. And now I think everything is so digital. There's the AI stuff. People still have a craving for the physical thing and wanting to collect, and you never know what the next wave is going to be. But yeah, I think it's smart that you guys can make
really
the
smart.
trading card version of these. I mean,
Are there stores open yet?
Well, we have the 3 that are open now.
Okay.
Next month we open in the American Dream Mall.
Nice.
Sick, bro.
Right in New Jersey. It's gonna be big. I can't really talk too much about it yet, but it's gonna be very big.
Hell yeah.
We are gonna be opening in the Hamptons
Ooh,
So when you guys
nice.
play the Hamptons, you have to come by the store.
please. Would love
we'll
to.
rip some F1. Well, what are you
that'd
guys
be so
into on the like sports or
I like
even
basketball.
Basketball.
I like
Clearly,
baseball,
you're
too.
like 6'9". So that doesn't surprise me. Basketball.
I like
baseball.
basketball the most.
Basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all mainly basketball fans. I do like baseball. Like going to the games is always. I've never been to a Boston's field, the Big Green Giant, or what's it called? The
The
Boston
big
Red Sox?
green giant. The blasphemy that just came out of your mouth, calling
What,
it
for-
the big green Boston Giant.
what's the no? What's the wall? What's the wall? Help me out here.
I don't even know what you're referencing.
The-
the
Boston Red
Green
Sox.
Monster
The
at,
Green Monster.
at
Okay, okay.
Fenway
Fenway
Park.
Park.
Fenway.
Fenway
Fenway.
Park,
The big
as they
green-
say. You
Because
just
Fen-
call it the Green Giant.
Not a big baseball
big
guy.
Green Giant.
No, I
Not
grew
a big
up.
baseball guy.
Hold on, I grew up.
That
across
needs
the-
to be clipped and saved for eternity.
That's
and,
going viral.
And Boston, when you guys come back to
They're gonna hate
Boston,
me now.
wait, the promo on your next show is going to be you calling it the
Big
Boston,
Green Giant,
big
the Jolly Green Giant. What is
Yeah.
it?
Cheat codes.
Jolly Green Giant.
Cheat codes plays the Jolly Green Giant.
I'm a Cardinals fan. I grew up in St. Louis, so.
That's great.
But no, I heard Fenway is still one of the OG parks, right?
Oh, it's the most legendary.
So it's like you have to go
fields.
if you're a
Yeah,
baseball.
it's
fan.
Wrigley in Chicago,
Right.
Fenway are kind of the two original ones. The Big Green Giant, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Hell yeah.
for sure.
Clip it.
It's a good
Clip
park.
that
Good park
one.
to get a homer on.
Yeah.
I've never heard that. I've heard it called a lot of things, but the Big Green Giant is definitely
Big monster.
Yeah.
It's
Big green monster.
It's the Green Monster for sure.
Well, yeah, man, we love sports, so yeah.
That'd be
Well,
fun.
Definitely check it out.
we were getting into the stores. I was wondering why that took a big. Like, you completely threw off my
I'm
train of
sorry,
thought
man.
with the Big Green Monster.
Traumatized
So
the
we're-
Bostonian over
We're
here.
opening in the Hamptons. That'll be the next store. So when you guys play the Hamptons, come by. We'll open up. And then we have plans in Chicago. We have plans in Dallas. We have plans in Las Vegas. We have plans in Sacramento. There
you go.
So
I live in Vegas, so
That's
hit me up.
yes, those are sort of the and by the way, that could shift, but that's where we're at now. American Dream definitely opening, Hampton's definitely opening, and then we're working on, we're gonna have 7 stores at the end of this year. The goal is 22 to 23 next year.
You got to get Tom to go in there and just break some cards.
Well, you never know.
See if
Yeah,
you
that's-
get
yeah,
lucky.
You,
go.
you
Come on,
never, you
Tom.
never know.
You get lucky.
Get in there,
Yeah.
Tom.
Well,
it'd
especially
be
in the
so
Hamptons,
fun.
because Ruben has a house in the Hamptons.
The white.
and
Wait, didn't he used to have a white party?
he-
I'm bringing it full circle.
we're back to the.
We missed the last one. I was like, damn.
But Ruben's in the Hamptons a lot, and I'm sure he'll bring celebrities by, and there's a clearly my goal too is, and it's funny. I think you guys have seen this, and I'm actually upset that I didn't bring it. I've been running around all these parties in Miami and opening packs with DJs and agents and managers, right? Like, hey, you like F1? Yeah. Oh, let's open this pack. I was with Hardwell last night, and it was like, let's open an F1 pack. He's like, I need a Verstappen, right? He didn't get a Verstappen. So part of, my experience in music, I'm trying to bridge the gap a little bit in having, music and sports cards sort of melded, because there are a lot of guys that are into it. Like Joe from Loud Luxury is big into Pokemon.
Okay.
There's several other DJs that are sort of into the hobby. But if I can help bridge that gap a little bit and have guys open cards and have fun with it and sort of meld those worlds, it's awesome. It's one of those David Guetta, I motivate you, Tim.
Yes.
Yeah.
Moments. That was a terrible French accent. by the way.
Bonito, you motivated me.
That was so much better. Can we clip that and then just wait, can we do a voiceover on my voice and have Matt's voice? Team Bonito.
I need to get back at the real DJ. You motivated me.
That was
That's
amazing.
good.
That's
David's gonna hate us now. He's like, "Fuck
Yeah.
those Chicos guys." They're like mocking my accent.
No, it sounds just like him, man. You sound
two
great.
two clips that will live for eternity are the Jolly Green Giant in Boston
French
and
accent.
the French accent that they're gonna mouth over. He's gonna edit this and he's gonna mouth it over with you saying that. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, put a baguette.
A baguette. He put his hand up and put a baguette.
Yeah, this is Italian. What the hell?
I don't know.
It's
It's
a little,
just
little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything.
So how would you say, like, what would you call your job title now, and how has it changed over the years? Would you say entrepreneur? Like, what would you say?
Yeah, I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. To do sort of the things that we've done collectively as a team. By the way, none of this happens without an incredible team and incredible partners and people that are part of, we're part of the original MV Concepts organization.
Yeah, I'm just curious,
and
like,
Big Night.
at what point did you have to scale, and you don't have to get into like crazy specific numbers before it's smart for you to get partners, or was it early on, or was it like, okay, we need to like have pretty good profit and like feet on the ground?
Well, it's actually an interesting question. Early in my career, on the EDM side, we actually met with Bob Sillerman during the whole SFX. I don't know if you guys, that's probably before your time,
yeah,
too. So
before.
when SFX was basically buying up they bought Disco Donnie, and they bought, like, they were trying, there was like an arms race to buy, because EDM was so hot, and they were basically trying to put together all of the promoters and festivals. And I'll never forget this, going to New York and meeting with Bob Sillerman, who was like a billionaire and like started Clear Channel, and kind of insane. And and Donnie actually was the one that called me and said, hey, you should sit down with Sillerman and the crew. But we were so early in our career, and I, as an entrepreneur, I didn't want to sell at that point.
So you're selling from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like
So to answer your question, on the front end, it doesn't make any sense, right? Like, because you're not investing in the upside.
Right.
In 2018, when I merged my company with Big Night, that was a point where I love Ed, Randy, Scott, Joe, like everyone that's associated with Big Night. And I realized, just like I don't feel like I work a day in my life, when you partner with people that are incredible people, it doesn't feel like you're giving anything up, right?
And with
like,
Big Night, they're kind of bringing in the restaurant stuff. Like, you weren't really involved with that. You were just doing the promotions.
No.
And,
yep.
yeah.
Booking, marketing, promotions. But there's this massive hub of incredibly talented people, media people and marketing people and creative people, and the resources that sort of come with Big Night, accounting, like things that we had to do sort of independently. And that's when it made sense for me to say, all right, let's bring in, let's do this from a partnership perspective. And and then also, if we wanted to do something from a funding perspective, I didn't have to front the bill, right? At that point, like, it was a collective sort of decision around it. But yeah, it's always hard to understand, like, in your arc of your career and your business, like, when's a good time to sell, when's a good time to partner. Like, sometimes you win and sometimes you don't in those situations. I feel like I've won the lottery because I have incredible partners. It's led us to all of these different verticals in our businesses. We have a management company. We manage artists. We manage Jake Shore and Castra and Zella. And
you do management now.
We do.
You didn't always do that.
No,
Right.
we didn't start. We didn't start in the management side. And
Kind of actually surprised that you got into that, because a lot of people think about management. It's like, now you got to deal with like an artist hitting you up and complaining about, oh, my flight is messed up, or my rider.
they're like, my outfit on my pillow is not correct.
Why would you want to deal with that? That's my point.
John, why did they put me in all white on this pillow? The fuck is this, John? Yes.
But that's why I'm surprised. Like, why did you sign up for that? You already made good money. You had success.
Yes,
you have these partners, and now you're dealing with these complaining DJs that are like hungover every day. It's like, what's the point, man?
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
We were at a point, like 2014, 15, where we were doing 300 to 400, 500 bookings a year. And I saw everybody come through. And I saw artists that were marketed correctly or branded correctly or aligned from, the music to the brand to the social media. And then I saw ones that, their management just didn't get it.
Right.
And they're like, hey, we just want $30,000, right? Like, or just didn't understand the back end of, when you charge X amount to a club or a promoter, the fans pay for that, right? Like, your ticket prices are higher. Like, there wasn't a rationale sometimes around some of these things. So we started the management division because I wanted to share the knowledge that we had gained sort of through being a promoter and help young developing artists, particularly at that early on was like artists that were from sort of the Northeast, and that's expanded, clearly over the years, and sort of share the wisdom and the resources. And we were tapped in on the booking side, right? So we sign somebody. Hey,
You know how to get them shows.
Yeah, we know Insomniac, we know the guys in Phoenix, and we know the guys in New York, and like it's easy to sort of put that part together.
I will say this too, because we've been doing this for a while, and we've done label deals, we've had different management, and like most artists don't realize you get even signed to a major label, and like they have no idea how to get you booked for shows or tell you. They don't even know what to tell you as far as making you have a good live show. You're kind of just on your own. So it's like having a management and a team that has seen, like you've probably seen like 1,000 or more, 2,000 live shows. Like,
Way more than that.
Yeah.
Way, which is insane, right? So
Right.
yes, so the touring and live side was our specialty. We had to learn the record side and the record labels.
make sure the
and-
deals are
yeah,
right.
the
you know,
deals,
getting
like,
screwed on this.
Yeah, we learned that. We had to learn it because we didn't know it wasn't our forte. But as you guys know, like the live side and the recording side, like you could be have hundreds of millions of streams, and if your live side isn't aligned or proper, like you're gonna make some money on the music. But as you guys know, touring is a massive component of your income.
For
I've
sure.
definitely
You
seen
know,
some house DJs, and they'll be like, "Oh, they're selling out 3,000 tickets," and you're like, "Oh, snap!" And then you look at their Spotify, and their biggest song is 10 million streams. You're like, "Oh, sick, okay." But it's all aligned, like what you said. So the target market, the demographic is like, they know exactly where to find, they know exactly what to expect, and they buy the tickets.
It's the alignment of those things,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
When they're in misalignment, you confuse, especially when you're developing artists. And if you have a massive pop, it's ironic. We're taking it back to David Guetta.
Yeah,
His alignment
exactly.
of he had a massive pop record, right? That was playing on pop radio. No one knew he was a DJ. Like it didn't align here in the U.S. Clearly, it aligned.
No
globally.
one, when he first came big on, I used to love all of his records on the radio, but yeah, when he was first on the radio, everyone my age, they had no idea what a David Guetta show looked like.
Yes.
We knew what he looked like, we knew his music, we maybe saw him in a music video, but none of us were like, "Oh my God, this is what his show looks like. It looks like so much fun." Like nobody thought that.
Well, he's an incredible DJ.
Yeah.
Like it's
Right.
not like he's like a slouch of a DJ and a producer and just kind of, put these records. He's an incredible DJ and he's come from that world. Just people didn't realize it. So
Also, like celebrity DJs was kind of like, it wasn't until like after 2009, 2010, like in America, like it wasn't even like a thing.
Are you like Paulie D type celebrity?
Yeah, like that.
I got a story for you guys.
Okay.
I love
Yeah.
Paulie. I
we
love Paulie.
Love Paulie. Paulie is one of my favorite people. Actually, even this predates the concert part of our business. We we took over a club that was part of a strip club. It was called the Mardi Gras in Springfield, and they decided to take a part of what is it, like world famous, like huge strip club in Springfield. They decided to take a part of it and like sort of siphon it off from the club and turn it into a nightclub. It was called The Lure. And myself and Rich, my partner, we're in charge of the talent and operations and marketing and running the club. And I'll never forget, this is 2009. I saw the first episode of Jersey Shore, and I saw Paulie on it, and he was from Rhode Island, and I was like, this is gonna be big. Like this is.
I mean, yeah, right after the first season, I think everyone was hooked. It was a phenomenon.
Well, here's what happened. After the first episode, I reached out, and because he was a local guy too, I knew he would draw, and I think we paid him $1,000. We had the first show on the Saturday following the season finale of Jersey Shore. Paulie D in Springfield, Massachusetts, of all places, right? And it was the biggest night you could ever possibly imagine.
Wow.
Had he
Like-
been DJing at that point?
Oh,
Or
he was a local Providence DJ for a
Okay,
long
okay,
time.
cool.
Like we had a lot of mutual friends and sort of knew him and knew of him, but the show just put him on a whole different
For sure.
stratosphere.
It's like he was so famous, he didn't even have to DJ really at that point. Like he could have packed out like 1,000, 2,000 people just to see him. Like when people used to do appearances back in the day.
Yeah,
But the fact that he did DJ, it was like, okay, now we got.
and he was very smart, realizing he had a platform of fans that were fans of the show. And shout out to Paulie. Like Paulie, he's a real DJ. He's a serious DJ. Like he doesn't want to be this just like fluff celeb DJ and just sell tickets and do whatever. You know, he was an actual DJ and he's worked on his craft and worked on it, but he's very smart around knowing that he had this platform and built a fan base that wanted to come out and see him. But that was 2009. We were like probably the first promoter in the country to do a Paulie D show.
That's
Wow.
Which is kind of insane to put on the marquee. But speaking of that, I actually got to tell this story. Speak of debuts in the U.S. The other two that other than the David Guetta thing and sort of the other things, early Avicii, right? This always strikes a chord with everyone because everyone that is in this industry, Avicii has touched in a way. I haven't met anyone in this industry that's like, who or what, or I wasn't into his music, or like you could argue argue David Guetta, you could argue Tiesto, you could argue a lot of people that are like, yeah, whatever, it's not. Avicii is the guy that is transcended
100%
on so many different levels. So we were very fortunate to be a part of his early career. And again, you know, what made us propel ourselves from a business perspective was we saw things before they happened. We saw LMFAOK before it happened, right? We saw dance music on colleges before it happened. We were ahead of Live Nation. We were ahead of AEG. We were ahead of like other promoters taking risks, you know. And I remember, you know, just seeing early like Tim Berg records, right? And again, they were resonating just in colleges and not really anywhere else. The first show we ever did with him was in Philadelphia, and the venue's no longer. It was at a old naval yard in this like huge like abandoned venue, like cavernous venue. And again, had to put the full production together and the whole 9 yards. And it was like one of the first shows he had ever done. Fully sold out, like 5,000 kids. He had never really done anything that large. You know, had just sort of come over the States. Levels was out, but like, you know, the vocal version of it wasn't there yet. Like it was still
no.
Yeah,
just like the instrumental.
Yeah, it was the instrumental version. And we do the show, and there were 2 points for which, wow, I'm kind of circling back to things that could have ended my career. It's another one that could have ended my career. There were so many people at this venue that couldn't get in. I remember like being inside the venue, and they had these huge like 15-foot doors, and I see the doors like start to cave in.
Oh God!
And I'm like, this is not good. Like this is gonna be
someone's breaking in.
It looked like it was gonna be a stampede, and in my head I'm going, dude, if they break through these doors and someone gets trapped under, like this is over. So I ran to the front, and I said, let everybody the fuck in. Don't scan anybody. Like I didn't care at that point. It was about safety and making sure people got in. And like the ticket scanners were like, what do you mean? I'm like, let everybody in. I was like, just let them all in. Don't take the tickets. Just let it, because people were just like couldn't get in and were getting impatient. So everybody gets in, and you know we're waiting. I'll never forget this call. I get this call from Avicii's agent, David Brady. He calls me and he goes, Tim, we got a little bit of a problem. What's that? So Tim Bergling, goes, Tim is stuck on the tarmac in D.C. and is not going to make the show.
Oh.
And I was like, well, what do you mean he's not? I was like, we have 5,000, which by the way, we like prevented a riot from happening earlier. Like in my head, I'm going, if I have to go on stage and tell these people that Avicii's not coming, I'm dead. Like
Right.
I might as well just
There's gonna be a
mail
riot.
it
They're
in,
gonna burn
right?
it down, yeah.
You're like, I need my assistant or intern to go break the news to
Yeah,
these 5,000 people.
I need like a 10-minute head start
Yeah,
out.
you're at home already. You're out there.
I'm out, right? So we went back and forth, and long story short, we were able on very short notice to get him a helicopter. Like he finally deplaned, and it's funny. I just ran into Matt Goldman, who was the opening DJ, who was supposed to play like 90 minutes, and he played like 4 hours, like waiting for Avicii to get there. And I still have his number saved in my phone. I called him, I saved it as Tim Bergling. I called him, and he's like, "Hey man," he's like, "I don't know when I'm getting off this, but I'll let you know." And then we were able to get the helicopter, and he showed up. And this is very, very, very early Avicii. He was,
What time do you think he finally went on?
I think he was supposed to go on at maybe 10 or 10:30, and he went on at like midnight, 12:30.
Shout out those like college kids that are just like down to roll. And the opening DJ, this has got to be a dream come true.
Oh, he was until the last 45 minutes where people are like, "What the fuck is going on?"
They're like getting mad, throwing shit.
Like you played the same song
Like,
6
hurry
times.
up.
Like, what is?
I
what is
prepared
happening?
for an hour. You're making me play 4 hours.
This is pre I don't know, I'm blanking.
like USBs?
USBs, sorry.
He's like-
I
he
knew
has
at some point the 48 hours of Miami would get to me and I couldn't think of something. And that's where it was.
He has like the CD sleeves or like
it's
label. He's like,
early days. So long story short, he finally gets there. He goes on late. He absolutely smashes the room. And I remember watching the show. I'm like, this dude is special. Like, and the way people reacted to his music, at this point, we had done a few hundred shows. I'd never seen anybody react to music like they did to Avicii. And he comes off stage, and I'll never forget the crowd, like, screaming, Avicii, Avicii, 5,000 kids, Avicii, Avicii. And I look at Tim, and I go, dude, you got to go up and do an encore. And he looked, again, one of these moments that, like, I'll never forget. He looked at me, he goes, what's an encore?
That's great.
I looked at him. I was like, dude, you got to go play another song. Like, it just like they want you to go back up, right? Like, he was a very like timid kid at that point and, nervous. So he goes back up and, does his thing and has the classic, with the hand flip. Look at that. Look at that hand flip there. Yeah. Like, does his thing and absolutely like smashes it. But 2 points, either having a complete stampede of people, could have crushed that show, and then Tim actually getting to that show, was again another one of those transformative things, sort of, in my career. But Avicii, we were very lucky at that point. The team believed in us, Tim believed in us, and we did everything with him on the East Coast. There were the New York guys. Shout out to Lou B and Eddie and. Rob, there was a lot of guys in New York. They sort of did his thing, and then we did sort of. We had a place called Ocean Club, and we just took him up and down the East Coast and did shows on colleges and the whole 9 yards. I got to know him and his team really, really well. But that guy, man, what a brilliant mind he had you guys are producers and musicians. I don't have 1 ounce of the creativity from that end that all of you guys have, but I marvel at someone like Avicii and the fact when you think about the melodies and the things that he was doing at that time.
Yeah, so good.
Think about if he was still alive today and making that music. Like it's kind of insane.
it's
how
actually,
short his career was.
It's cycling back now too. So even if he had to take a break or something, that's what's sad about with people's mental health or people getting too into drugs, or I know he had stage fright, so a lot of it was like he just wanted to kind of numb himself and just be in the crowd. But it's like his whole sound would be bigger than ever now, probably. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, for sure. And all of this stuff is so timeless. You know what I mean? It'll last
timeless.
forever.
It's funny because how they do like Spotify Wrapped every year. Every year it's Avicii for me.
Oh, is it?
It's so insane. I always gravitate to listening to his music because it's timeless.
Yeah. Did you see him live?
I saw him live. Yeah, I saw him, and I have a picture with him. And
That's what I
saw him at the
thought.
Win.
Wow.
I didn't know who he was though, at the time. My friend Neville did though. He's like, "That's Avicii." I was like, "No way." And I went up to him like, "Can I get a picture with you?" He's like, "Yeah, sure."
That's
and I
great.
got a pic.
I never got to see him.
Never
got to
saw
see
him live?
No. Such a big influence though, musically. Like, obviously one of the best.
Yeah,
So sad.
unbelievable. And he was always nervous. Every show, how many tickets we have sold? How's it looking? How are we doing? Are there people there yet? Like he was always, you could tell he had a level of anxiety.
Right.
Like performing was not his. He did it because, it supported the music that he made, and it was like what you did as a DJ. If you produced music, you went and toured it. I don't think he ever really felt fully comfortable being a DJ, being in front of people, being up there, the anxiety level. Like you guys deal with it. The good thing is there's 3 of you guys, so you can sort of share that anxiety, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
if one of you guys
Let
is
someone
anxious,
shine if they
That's
need
true.
to.
Yeah.
Step in the back, whatever.
if Kevy overslept, like you guys can still do your thing.
Exactly.
We did. It's funny you say that. We did a show in Portland, and Kevy slept through the whole thing. So
Yeah, Andy didn't wake me up, dude.
This is a real story.
This is a real story.
Yeah, dude.
This
Andy
is real.
didn't wake me up. I woke up. It was
This is
like
real.
2 a.m. I'm like, what? Where's everyone?
The show's about to
And then
start. I'm
Trevor's like,
"Where's
we're
Kevy?"
done, dude.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
we couldn't even play. The whole crowd was like, "Where is Kevy? Where is Kevy?" They're booing us. It was horrible, dude.
Where is Kevy?
Their worst show.
The funny thing is, I had no idea that actually happened. And here I was
Spot
like,
on.
yeah, there's 3 of you guys. If Kevy sleeps through a show, you're good. We're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Like,
We survived.
Proof
Yeah.
of concept. We don't need Kevy. Look at that.
Oh my god.
There's some shows we'll switch off. We always try to keep the 3 of us, but there's a couple shows I've done just by myself, and you show up super nervous, like, oh, are they gonna be pissed that it's just me showing up? And then the whole time they're like, cheat codes. Yep, I'm cheat codes. that's me. I'm cheat codes. Yeah. So,
Well,
it
you guys
happens.
have always been good about the 3 of you guys traveling and showing the fans, all 3 of you guys. And there's a lot of like trios and duos that don't necessarily do that. And I think that's been a big part of your success. Clearly, sometimes you have to do it, right? There's things
Right.
going on. You don't want to cancel shows and do those things. But
Right.
I think, the dynamic of the 3 of you guys, particularly when there's a stage part of it, and
Right.
you're up there, and Kev's up there, Matt's in the back DJing, and Kev's doing his thing, right? Like, I think that dynamic has really helped your fan base in terms of like the longevity in what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
That live show, particularly in Boston, like you guys have, built such an incredible fan base in Boston, and I think it's because the shows are so energetic, and the 3 of you guys sort of interacting and doing your thing.
Well, shout out to you for a big part of that, though.
Appreciate it,
You've been
man.
supporting us since day one, and always have been there to have us there, and it's always been one of our favorite cities, honestly, to play in.
Always love having you guys. I'm at a point in my life, I have an 8-year-old daughter and a family, and I can't get out, right? I don't. There's no, and a lot of people don't know this. I don't live in Boston.
Right, you live like an hour and a half
I
away?
live 90 minutes away. Right.
Right.
People to this day, I've been doing
What's
this.
the reasoning for that?
So, I grew up in the Western Mass, Springfield area. My wife's family is there. My nephew's there. Like our whole support system is there.
Right.
Right. So, I'm out there 2 or 3 days a week and traveling, and it's just a comfort level with having sort of a support system around you versus like picking up your family and just moving them somewhere. So
Right.
it's been I know anybody in a relationship, it's a give and take sort of scenario, especially in this business. It's a hard business to be in a relationship.
Very true.
Right.
And be married in and have kids. Probably one of the hardest businesses, other than being like a famous actor or
Yeah.
something to that effect. It's a very, there are a lot of long nights. There are a lot of, you're gone for weeks at a time. There are, times where you're just sort of absent.
Like, sorry, babe. Cheat codes made me take shots. Like, what was I supposed to say? No.
Sorry, Cabby picked me up. So I don't know what to tell you. I had to just do the shot of tequila because Cabby said if I did it,
Or when you do get home, you're exhausted or whatever else.
It is, but you know what? You're dad. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like I'll get home on Sunday. I've not slept for 4 days, and it doesn't. I'm dad. Like no matter what. My wife looks at me like, don't try to come home and take a nap, dude. Like,
You better not
wake
fucking
up,
now,
don't be
dude.
trying to come home and take a nap. You've been gone for 5 days. It's your turn. Like I'm gonna go do my thing, go out, do whatever I have to do, and it doesn't matter how tired you are. But listen, if it wasn't for my family life and my support system, my motivation for sort of what I do from a business perspective is to provide for them, right? And it brings an entire different level of motivation and focus into sort of what you're doing. But the balancing act, can be hard sometimes. But here's an example. I've come to Miami every year for the last 13 years outside of the COVID year. I go home on Sunday every year. No matter what is going on Sunday, I go home on Sunday because my deal with my family is I'm gone, but I'm home on Sunday. I'm going to put my daughter to bed and have dinner and do my thing on Sunday. And that's, so sometimes it's a give and take sort of situation. So to answer your question, we live there because what works for the family.
It's like your own little bubble too, and you can be peaceful. You come home. I would imagine it takes a lot of pressure off from your business side too, knowing you have this family and support. And it's like worst case scenario if this business stuff just completely fell apart. Like I'm still a whole person over here, and like I have a lot to live for. And
100%, 100%. It's funny over the years. I obviously know a lot of people in this industry, and to watch people get married and then start to have kids, and like and then they're like, oh, I get it now. Like I get like EDM dads, right? Like I was like all the last 5 or 6 years, like watching some of my friends in the industry like start to have kids and babies, and like and realizing, hey, you're not going to sleep, and then sort of how it changes your sort of entire life and how you look at things. But we all started. The majority of, listen, there's the OGs like, the Pasquales and the Donnies and, guys have been doing this 20, 25 years. Pete, has been doing it forever in DC. But there wasn't really a boom until 2010, 2011.
Right.
So a lot of us that came up regionally across the country, we all sort of grew up together, right? And then people got married and had kids, and so I joke with a lot of them. It's like, yeah, we should start a meme page called EDM Dads. Like, just got in at 4, time to feed the kid.
Exactly.
Those types of things.
Is it like friendly between you guys, or is it like competition because you guys are trying to steal each other's lunch?
Lunch, steal your lunch money?
Yeah.
So. There's a difference between nationally and regionally, So
Yeah.
like I'm friendly with pretty much every promoter across the country.
There's like certain places I can't book here because it's his turf, and like I'm crossing a line, like respect.
Yeah, territory.
That's Grutman's territory. I wouldn't even dare. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a sort of unspoken. If you're in it, like no one's coming into Boston and saying we're gonna go book cheat codes in Boston, right? Like it doesn't work. There's a level of respect amongst promoters, and when that ends up getting trumped is when acts get big and they're playing a huge Live Nation venue or doing a big, those kind of things sort of, will trump the local promoters. But yeah, there's an incredible camaraderie across the country. You have the PSG guys, you have, Daniel and Thomas Turner in Phoenix. You have the guys out in LA, clearly everything on Insomniac and Disco Donnie, and, you have a ton of different promoters. So I'm friendly with everyone. There isn't a level of competition because we're all doing things in our regions.
Yeah, you got your own thing. I was curious your perspective on the Live Nation stuff, because I follow one of my favorite artists is John Bellion. He did a podcast recently, but he was talking about his Live Nation situation where he basically quit music because of it, which
I saw
you
that.
saw that, yeah. So it's kind of insane. I mean, at the end of the day, everybody signs their own contract. So I'm like, John, you got to read the contract before you sign. But it's like, he signed the deal. He got this advance. And then after selling out Jones Beach, he realizes, oh, I'm going to have to do like 20 or 30 of these shows to pay back the advance and make the money. Do you think some of this has to change within the music industry for just, I don't know, live music to thrive? Or do you think it is what it is, like with the state of live music?
It's an interesting question, because other than John, I haven't really heard that level of story. I don't know, maybe because people are slightly afraid to be transparent.
Yeah, exactly.
About
It's
it,
like if you work with Live Nation, you don't want to talk
Yeah.
against them, and then you never get a show ever again. So I think there's a lot of that in the industry, but I do think there is some of it where, John's probably a really creative. There's creative artists that they don't even want to deal with the business side. They want to write, they want to show up to the show, and they want to know like they can get paid. And then when they pull back the curtain, they see kind of how everything's made, and they're like, wait, you're not going to pay me for the parking, you're not going to pay me for the snacks, and like you have the right to raise my ticket prices however you want. Like I don't know, they get like bitter about it.
I like to look at it similar to a record deal,
Right.
right? Like you sign a record deal and get an advance, and if you don't know what you're doing in the industry, you don't realize that every single expense is going to be written against it. And not only is it going to be written against it, but it's going to be written against it at like 15%, right?
Yeah.
So
they're going to add extra charges in there.
Yeah, so for every 100,000 that the record makes, you're only making back 15 grand of the expense, for which you basically have to do 10x to like make any money, right? So those types of deals, like we've never done those types of deals. You know, it's interesting from a lot. Like Live Nation will go with like a Taylor Swift and guarantee X amount, or Drake and guarantee X amount of money. I think it's kind of up to the individual artist. To
Yeah,
sort of
100%.
Understand.
I agree. I know there was something with like wasn't Ticketmaster, like people were gonna hit them with I don't know, are they like
Antitrust laws or
Yeah,
something.
antitrust, like they're a monopoly, because I don't know if it's like they own the venues, but they're also selling tickets and then they can resell them off of that. I don't know how it qualifies as antitrust, but I don't know. I know a lot of like artists are kind of looking at Ticketmaster and some of these sites like with a side eye a little bit, like, what are you guys doing?
Well, yeah, Live Nation owns Ticketmaster and owns the venues, and you know gets the refreshments and bars, and like they have all of the ancillary income, right?
Because there's been a lot of artists, whether it's like Luke Combs with these people, and they're like, I had no idea they were charging that like for my
$1,000 a ticket.
Yeah, exactly. Where like they have no control over putting a cap on it, but it's like you said, if they own all the venues, it's like there's no recourse as an artist. It's like if you're playing 2,000 cap venues, where else are you gonna play? But we did play with Train, and they said they promoted themselves
their own
at the
shows, I
Forum, which I was like super surprised by. I was like, wow. So yeah, I think it's just
there's some artists that will take that upon. I mean, it's a lot more work.
yeah,
right?
there's more of a risk.
Yeah, it's a risk and I mean, listen, I deal with this every single day. I mean, you guys know I talk to every agent. You know, when they come at me with a guarantee, and I say, well, what if we lowered the guarantee and did a back end, or if you
Right.
sold out? No, we need this guarantee, right? No, we have to have $30,000. Why do you, if you're not going to sell the tickets, why do you have to have $30,000? I think the smart agents and managers and teams, sort of realize there are times where you can make your money, right? Go to colleges and do these things, and the fee is the fee. There are other times where if you're going and trying to either build a relationship with a promoter or sell a show out or brand yourself in some of these markets, like you have to take a step back and go, maybe we should take a little bit less.
Right.
Which is crazy. I know you guys are looking at me like, well,
Wait,
take a less.
what?
Wait,
Take
what?
less
Wait,
money.
It
what?
makes sense.
What?
You're crazy, dude.
Take a less? What's this about, right?
No, it makes sense. It makes
No,
sense.
and I don't want to put any info out there that shouldn't be out there. But shout out Aoki, because I've heard through the grapevine that he does like a special deal where his like Vegas, he'll play an extra hour or something, but he gets like a cut of the alcohol or something, which that's a very entrepreneurial thing for somebody to do.
Dude, Aoki's one of
Yeah, don't you partner with him on some of the stuff with the Peace Aoki and
yeah, we've done things with Steve. He's an investor in our businesses as well. But man, that guy, every time he comes into town, he has like 10 new business ventures that he's into. Like his mind does not stop working from a business perspective. He's one of the hardest. He's the hardest working dude I think I've ever seen in this business. And he's completely sober and focused. And the guy does like 200 plus shows a year on the road. We'll fly, go from Vegas to Boston to Chicago, fly across. Like the dude doesn't like he's an absolute machine. While again, understanding he has a platform as a DJ and a celebrity now, and to do some of these entrepreneurial things. But he by the way, he's huge in the card business. He was one during COVID. He has Aoki's Card House. He was breaking. He would come on and break stuff. Like understood that. Like this was going to be something big. He was obviously clearly big in the NFT space, and is always sort of ahead of the game and sort of realizing, hey, if DJing isn't going to work out, I have these 30 other verticals and businesses that are
focus on. And luckily, he has like a good family that's smart and entrepreneurial as well.
Great team and great management, and
I love his restaurant and resorts world. It's like him and like his brother or something on the animated car. I forget what it's called, but it's really cool. But I know you brought up like NFTs with us. This was like a couple years ago, but you had mentioned like this Bored Ape style live show. Did that ever happen, or you were? I don't want to like spill your ideas before they come to fruition.
Well, the ideas are spilt and all over the floor and are a massive mess at this point. But harkening back, did I say harkening? Is that bringing back the original? Bringing back the. I don't want to say harkening.
My vocabulary is not that big.
Can we cut that? Can we cut harkening, please?
Yeah.
Bringing back your original point during COVID. That was one of those things that during COVID, again, we were all entrepreneurs, and the way that our minds worked was we don't want to just sit here. We want to do things. And when the NFT explosion started, we looked at it and said, we could actually make Bored Apes into a DJ duo act. So we bought 2 Bored Apes, we turned them into Escape Plan. We did a record with Rich the Kid, we did records with Dylan Francis. Like we did, we partnered with a number of different people, and we had a full live show with.
So was the animator of Bored Apes like involved, or it's just like, oh,
no,
you
they never really fully bought into us, which is the strangest thing to me, because you figure that somebody that's trying to take what they were doing from an NFT perspective and then broadening it out to music and to the masses would embrace us a little bit more. It was a little bit of an uphill battle, but we signed with an agency, and we had some success, and we had full motion capture suits that we invested in, where we had DJs actually in these motion capture suits behind a screen.
Oh.
And you could see. By the way, this is absolutely brilliant. How this didn't work fucking blows me away. Sometimes you have incredible ideas that just don't hit, and this was one of them where, we had these DJs and they had motion capture suits, and then you're watching the screen and you could see the Bored Apes DJ. Mimicking, all of their, shouting out and doing all these things. So we had it on the LED screen with motion capture. Had it all figured out. People just didn't get it.
Damn.
It was like a weird.
I want to see this.
I'll send you guys.
I'll
send you guys videos, right?
Please, yes,
because we have these discussions, you see with somebody like Anima and at the Sphere, and you see a lot of it's about visuals now. A lot of it's about the production, and now with AI, with Suno, and you can make music a lot easier than you used to. It's like, would people buy into seeing like a Sphere show without a DJ, or do they need that physical person being there for them to get it, for it to click? And I don't know if we're fully at that point, but it seems like, who knows, in a couple of years, people are paying big bucks to just go see
the screen and listen to the music and have it be
curated.
Well, what's ironic about that is someone like Marshmello did the Fortnite thing, right?
Right.
And it's the same thing. You're not watching, but because there was something actually, people knew who
people are already there for the game, I guess.
Well, the game, and they knew who Marshmello was.
Right.
It wasn't this, made up sort of NFT thing.
That is true. They did the hologram Whitney Houston thing, apparently. I don't know how many. I think it was arenas, but
I think we'll get there at some point. I think we're gonna look back at it as probably the LMFAO of our career. We were just early on it.
Yeah,
right, 100%.
But we're focused on other things, and another example of something that worked: the sports card business. Something that didn't work: the NFT sort of escape plan Bored Ape thing, which, by the way, was amazing. We had so much fun doing it, and creativity, and putting the branding around them, and putting songs together. We did a deal with Dylan Francis. We actually it made sort of headline news. Our residency deal with Dylan was an exchange for a Bored Ape.
Yeah, I saw that article. Yeah.
So he did records with us. He helped with the branding, and then did shows in exchange for a Bored Ape.
Wow.
Which is kind of nuts when you think about it. Again, ahead of our time. I just think it was, dude. And you think about your average person, they just can't wrap their brain
comprehend it,
around it, right? And I'm not trying to.
We forget about the normies.
Yeah, I'm not trying to throw digs at anybody, but it's one of those things that people just look at and are like, "This is silly," just like buying a piece of cardboard with Tom Brady on it.
Isn't
People
there
are this is fucking silly. Why am I gonna buy a piece of cardboard that's worth $20,000? Which, by the way, last week, $1.1 million for the Paul Skeens.
I saw that
First patch. The Dick's Sporting Goods bought it, right?
Oh, really?
$1.1 million, right? There's real money in this.
crazy.
But they're still
wild.
Joe in Arkansas going, why would you pay $1.1 million for a piece of cardboard, right?
Yeah.
It just, they just don't, it just doesn't click for everyone until everyone also gets it, right?
Right.
And then there's just groupthink of oh, it's cool. Oh, you think it's cool? Oh, you think it's cool? Then everybody's then it's cool, right?
Yeah, I mean, part of it too is with inflation. If you're just leaving your money in a regular bank, it's just losing value. So of these rich people, it's fine art or trading cards, and some people know more about sports than they know about Picasso's or whatever. I don't know.
It's true.
You don't want to buy a painting and then you have no idea what you're talking about, and then they scammed you.
I'm still a big believer that the blockchain is going to change the world as we know it. And I don't want to get too deep into it because I actually haven't been that deep into it the last year or so. But for example, a mortgage, right? Which, have you guys ever signed a mortgage?
Yeah.
Yep.
You know how many fucking pieces of paper you have to sign
Yeah.
when you do a mortgage?
It's true, a lot.
But also the fact they have these commercials and they're like, title lock. Have you looked at your title lately? And it's like, so someone can just go to like the city hall and steal my mortgage title? Like, that seems dumb. Like,
Yes, you have to sign 112 pieces of paper and then put it in a physical city hall. And then, I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but I had to do this. I had to request from City Hall like the original title. It took 3 months.
Damn.
Oh, wow.
To
That's
get like
fucking wild.
an original title. So something like the blockchain, where you could do a mortgage on the blockchain and access it instantly, right? And again, well, I think before it's time, but I think you look down the road and those types of things
They'll be there.
that are, so NFTs and blockchain and Web3 and sort of all these things, sort of feel like they've gone out of style, but there's so much functionality to what has happened the last few years, for sure.
yeah. I mean, with the mortgage thing, people will just steal the titles and they won't even take your house. They'll just put loans on it. And the next thing you know, you're getting hit up like, hey, you owe this interest on this loan. You're like, I didn't take out that loan.
That's very weird.
Yeah, that's not a good. That can't be good.
But hopefully the blockchain can fix that.
Well, that's a perfect example. If it's on the blockchain, just like an NFT, you see the clear ownership. Part of the problem happened with pirates and people taking things out of your wallet, which is a whole nother issue. But I think eventually it's gonna revolutionize things that are just daily, every day. Think about this. Something as simple as just going and tapping your phone to pay for something.
Right.
10 years ago, you're like, you would never think that you could just tap your phone and pay for something.
Yeah.
You have to pull a $20 bill out and then get change for it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It was only 10 years ago. It wasn't. It feels like an eternity ago that you had to pull a $20 bill out, and now
Can you do that with Coinbase? If not, you should.
to pay for things with Coinbase. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I know
It's like, why wouldn't they do that?
you could just do it with the Apple Wallet, right? Apple Card.
Well, he's saying
you can pay with
With
crypto.
crypto, it just depends if people take crypto or not.
yeah, you need
so,
an exchange to take it.
Yeah, it just sort of depends on you guys. Are you guys dabble? You dabble? In
I'm in crypto, yeah.
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 Not as
Look at
Right
this
now
guy.
it's been
He's
crazy.
lighting up.
It's
He's
been
getting
bought
excited
out.
over here.
I mean,
loves
not
it.
right now. It's good. Things are going down a little bit, but hopefully it'll come back.
You got to
up.
buy the dip, dude.
Well, of course, you got to buy the dip, but how many times can you buy the dip?
I've been buying the dip for months.
Yeah.
How many
dry
times
powder.
can you buy the dip?
Before the dip is just it's just all the way at the bottom. But we'll see.
There's Trev's soundbite right there.
Yeah.
How many times can you buy the dip?
Yeah.
It's called
Clip
a
it.
falling knife. Is that what it's called?
Oh, catch a falling knife.
You don't wanna catch
wanna
a falling knife.
That's why it's best to just DC.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
It's basically like when you keep trying to buy the dip, but it keeps going lower and lower, and then you're just out of money, and you're like,
It's blood. Like if you catch a falling knife, your hand bleeds, and the blood drips. So it's a red candle
Right.
down.
So hence Trev said, how many times can you buy the dip before
Yeah.
your hand is
His
bleeding?
hands are
Your
bleeding.
hands just fucking sliced.
Bloody hands. How do we get to bloody hands? This is a crazy podcast.
I know, it's
Bloody
wild.
hands. What the hell are you guys doing here? Bloody hands.
I know. Be careful out there.
well, hey man, we don't want to take too much of your time. Might be a good place to wrap it. Is there anything you want to shout out? Maybe your company that's opening Breaking In. Is that what it's called?
He just made up another name, like the Jolly Green Giant at Fenway Park.
Breaking In.
What,
Big night breaks.
what kind of research do you do, bro?
Big night breaks.
What kind of podcast am I on that you don't?
Jolly Green
You want to
Giant.
shout out breaking in?
You wanna shout
What's Breaking In?
Yeah.
Large Night Entertainment. You know those guys. They do some shows.
Large night.
Large
Entertainment.
night.
Obese entertainment.
They're right by that baseball stadium. There's a big Jolly Green Giant out front of it. You know those guys. Someone needs to get. Is this your producer?
That's him.
He's got to get you a better
Get us
sheet,
a list.
bro. He's got to get you a better.
was out partying
I'm gonna
at
blame
actual
it.
show.
Oh yeah, blame it on Miami.
Our producer's
I haven't
hungover.
slept in 2 days. I'm pretty sharp, bro. At least you can tell him what
He's
what
tired.
Fenway Park is and the name of a company. Like those are two pretty basic things. You know?
So what's the name of it?
I love it.
Card Vaults
Okay.
by Tom Brady.
And that's the name of the store.
Yes, that
Okay,
is
cool.
that's
That is
the
a
name.
better name.
Than
Yeah,
what?
than
Than
Breaking In.
Breaking.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Shout out breaking in.
Yeah.
You guys are good at this. You
Matt
guys,
just renamed our company.
Yeah.
It's not Not a good name. No, no. Scott's over there, our branding guy, going, that's a terrible name. There's no chance. I mean, he invented that name, by the way.
There we go,
Scott's on it. Shout out Scott over there. He's
Scott.
getting all nervous over there, turning a little red. But
Scott.
Legend. That's Scott, the branding master over there.
Legend,
Yeah,
dude.
Absolute legend. So Card Vault by Tom Brady. Coming to a city. We're trying to do a lot of the stores adjacent to stadiums and sports areas. It seems like there's a lot of development around a lot of stadiums. So, that's primarily where we're looking. It doesn't mean it's necessarily where it's
Got to get one in LA, like near the new stadium.
We're working on it. You never know.
There you go.
You never know. It might be one, in a city near you at some point very soon. You guys come in, break some baskets. What I'm excited about is let's say when there's 50 of them, and we know people, especially DJs sort of across the country, just invite them in, come in, break some cards, breaking in, come and break in.
That's where I got it from, guys.
Yeah, come and break in and hang out. And like, I'm excited about it because I love the hobby. It's fun to sort of share it with people that may or may not know sort of what's going on. Maybe turn some people onto it. Be awesome.
I think it's a genius idea for sure.
But yeah, Card Vault by Tom Brady, Big Night. Big Night Talent is the management division, and then NV Concepts is still in existence and does booking sort of across the country. So those are the main companies.
Awesome,
Oh yeah.
man.
We appreciate you coming on, man. Miami, we have a show. Oh, here's the pillow.
It's back.
I just
It's
hit
back.
the mic.
We're playing
Watch the
Soho
audio.
House tonight. So yeah, if you're free, come through.
Yes.
There you go. Ooh,
There it is.
Miami.
Oh, we love you, Tim.
Love you,
Cheat
Tim.
Codes
Love you guys.
podcast.
Thank you, bro.
Love you guys. Love you guys. Thanks for having me on. Much appreciated.
Appreciate
It was a lot of fun. Just do a little more research next time, and you'll have
That's right.
a much more successful show.
I'm new at this.
I'm new at this.
You nailed it, Matt. You nailed it.
See, that's why these guys didn't want to say the name, and they,
Yeah, I was
they
like, we're
weren't
gonna
gonna
let
remember.
Matt
Oh,
mess
he
it
was
up.
looking.
We're
he
gonna
was-
let Matt mess
Oh,
it up.
Kev's like, fuck that. I ain't
I
saying
don't know.
shit over here, man. I don't know what's going on.
I'm gonna let him shout it out. I'm not gonna guess.
I'm not gonna guess. I mean, he's in the seat that is like,
He's like
we're-
in the host.
we're-
He's in the hot
yes,
seat.
he's in the hot seat,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Do you guys swap the hot seat or?
No, Matt's the hot seat guy.
Oh, you are the hot seat guy.
Yeah, I'm burning up over here, guys. All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Much
Cheat Codes
love.
Pod.
Peace.
Peace.